What if I told you a group of people are running around in costumes trying to make a better change? The Real Life Superhero Project. Now, I'm not kidding. They've been around for a while, since the early 2000s, or even maybe even the late 90s. But I want you to talk about this. See, I'm a big superhero fan. I told you guys that many times. Before I was a music fan, I was a comic book fan. Even today, even though I'm more of a music fan now, I consider myself to be a comic book fan foremost. I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to go to a somewhat of a psychology and why we as a culture are obsessed with superheroes. Before I start, keep in mind, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist. I don't claim to be. I'm just a person trying to figure out why me and many others like me are obsessed with, well, superheroes. Now, I'm going to look at many answers, even the negative ones, because it won't just be one-sided. And I'll even give my opinions, but not until the end. This is about research and research alone. Now, superheroes were abundant in the 1930s, but you can even take it back to the Greek and Rome times. That's right. Now, Greek and Rome had their own set of heroes called the gods and goddesses. Even Egyptian culture had this. Basically, if you look back at those gods, even though they're kind of different of the American superhero, you can still find traits of the American superhero in those old gods and goddesses. But really, superheroes started back in the 1930s with the invention of Superman and also Batman. So you got those two creations. And, later on we go into the World War II. The invention of Captain America starts. And believe it or not, technically, comic book writers were fighting Hitler before our American government was fighting Hitler. That's right. Okay, so they wasn't actually fighting Hitler, but they were making stories about fighting Hitler. Which, now, did it inspire the U.S. government to go to war? Yes and no. There's a lot of debate on that, which, I don't know. But you can sort of say if it wasn't for the comic book industry itself, plus a billion other things, we probably wouldn't, fix it. So afterwards, we get more into the Silver Age, where for example, Marvel Comics. Now, Stan Lee once said, a billion times, but once said, he wanted to make his characters feel believable. He wanted his character... When you open up one of his books and read it, he wanted you to see yourself in the character. Believe it or not. He wanted, believable characters. Even if they were superhumans, he still wanted them to be relatable. And I think that was a big deal for the time. So, putting all the history aside, I want to answer a question. Why do people are obsessed with superheroes? Well, there's a lot of answers. But one answer I do kind of find treating, I would even say, believable, is the fact if we don't see ourselves in them, at least we can be inspired to want to be these people. We want to be better in ourselves. We want to encourage ourselves to be superhuman. We want to save people, help people, be a symbol of hope even. Now, there are some negative ideas about comic books and superheroes, For example, Alan Moore. Alan Moore is one of my favorite comic book writers, and I have talked about Alan Moore before, but he said basically something in the lines of like he's worried about what was once made for 10 to 12-year-old kids are being marketed as these big blockbuster movies for adults. And he's worried about our culture never growing up. Now, even though I disagree, I have to say I kind of understand where he's coming from. Because if I spend all my time, for example, watching nothing, even though I love Looney Tunes, watching nothing but Looney Tunes and the foods and to grow up, yeah, I would affect you to, worry about me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know Looney Tunes ain't superheroes, but similar subject. And I think the thing is, comic book superheroes were for kids, originally. But I have to also say, a medium can deter. Any medium can deter. And you could say that comic book superheroes were bound to mature. I mean, you got people like, like I said before, Alan Moore to Mark Miller, who I'm not the biggest Mark Miller fan, but that's a story for a whole different day. And, of course, I think, why do we like superheroes? Why is our culture obsessed with superheroes? Because we want to be bigger in life. We want to look ourselves in the mirror and say, I did something great today and I accomplished it. But what do you guys think? Do you think superheroes are a good thing or a bad thing for culture? Let me know.